أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعد حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدرك بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود. أما بعد، صلى الله عليك سيدنا ومولانا حبيب إله العالمين وخاتم النبيين وخلق عظيم أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى من هو عند الرسول أخي وابن عمي ووسي ووارثي وموضع سري أبو الحسنين مولى القونين إمام الثقلين يعصوب الدين رئيس الموحدين قائد الغر المحجلين والسيد المتقين أمير المؤمنين أسد الله الغالب غالب على كل غالب مظهر العجائب علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله ولا القوم الظالمين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا باب نجاة الأمة، يا عبرة لكل مؤمن ومؤمنات، غريب مظلوم كربلاء، فيا ليتني يا ليتني كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فنفوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The most controversial topic you could speak about today, in today's climate and in today's social and political environment, is the topic of identity. And the reason is because right now in our society there is a debate which is raging on whether or not a person can identify according to what they choose. The current area of discussion is on gender, where you'll find all around us there are discussions of gender identity. Can a person choose to identify with a male or a female gender or another gender or no gender despite how they were born? This discussion of gender identity comes from the idea that I am not necessarily fixed by the gender that was assigned at my birth. I may have been born a certain sex, but during life I can choose throughout my cultural experiences which gender do I identify more with. And indeed the names of different conditions are discussed which support this way of thinking. For example, the idea of gender dysphoria, which describes the sensation of not relating to the gender that you've been born in. Okay, this debate is raging in our news, our media, and indeed it has penetrated our community. But before that, it came into our schools. And children came home asking the mum and dad, in school we are taught that a boy can become a girl and a girl can become a boy. And to argue against that is to be discriminatory to that person's choices. Okay. The reason why all of that debate takes place is because of postmodernism. Do you see now why we are discussing this topic for so many days? Postmodernism. Postmodernism assumes, like we've been discussing, there is no one objective truth. And what that means is that I have no such thing as a fitrah, no human nature. I'm not born with anything which is certain as haqq within me or outside of me. And so I can go through life and justifiably choose to identify with any identity I wish. Today it's gender, but then it could easily become culture or nationality or any label someone wishes to apply on themselves. And here's the catch, no one can tell them they're wrong because there's no truth. You have your truth and I have my truth. And if it's in my truth to change or transition my gender, you have no right to tell me to change. Okay. This assumption beneath all of this is that identity is fluid. That's the assumption. It's not really about gender, it's not about these different issues and identity. No, it's about the concept that identity is fluid because it doesn't exist. It's completely fluid. In the religion of Islam, some parts of your identity are fluid and some parts of your identity are fixed. The journey of insan is to go through life with both that which is fixed and that which is fluid, both pointing you back towards your creator. There are things in me that are not going to change. I've been created in that way. My identity is fixed. And there are things in me which are actually fluid and they can change, and I can choose through my decisions to adapt them. This discussion needs to happen, and needs to happen in the right way, and it needs to happen this Muharram. And I'm happy to see that around the world, along different manabir, this is being discussed, the idea of identity, because we're going through it and we need some clarity. So today, continuing the idea of postmodernism and wilayat, I'm going to go through what are those things in Islam which are parts of your identity which are fixed, and what are those things which are fluid, so that we know where we stand when we go into our schools and our workplace. And how, if we go to Karbala, I'm going to mention the example of a man whose identity goes through an incredible journey, where he goes from being against Abu Abdullah to fighting and dying alongside Abu Abdullah within one night. The example of Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. But to really appreciate how that growth is impressive, we have to answer these questions. In Islam, what part of identity is fixed? What part is fluid? And how can I use this to my advantage and understand the postmodern world around me? That's our discussion. If you are with me, if you will lend me your ears and your attention for the time that we have, بحب سيد الزهراء أصواتكم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nas, the Quran begins. O people, Inna khalaqnakum dhakarin wa untha. We have created you, male and female. This is how the verse begins. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبٌ وَقَبَائِلٌ. And we have made you come or grow in certain tribes and nations. Why? لِتَعَارَفُوا. So that you may know us. Us here means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're using we in that plural sense. We made you for this reason, so you may know us. And in the process of knowing us, you need to know who you are to come back to us. What do we say in the Hadith Qudsi? مَنْ عَرَفَ نَفْسَهُ فَقَدْ عَرَفَ رَبَّهُ. If you know yourself, you know your Lord. And I need to know what parts of my identity are fixed. Here's the Quran with at least two distinctions. Whether you are male or female, or whether you are from a tribe or a nation, these things are fixed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are predetermined at your birth. They're like hudud, they are fixed for you. This then implies that for all of us as insan, there are some things which we cannot change in our identity. And gender is one of those things. In our books, we do have some discussions about people who have no gender. It's in our books. or those people who have a sickness or an illness where they cannot understand their own gender, and there are many ulama today who discuss different forms of treatment for that person. That's true, and those are in the books of fiqh. But that doesn't go against this verse, Inna khalaqnahum dhakran wa untha. You're made in two genders, in two forms, male and female. Okay. These are two things to be embraced, not to try and change. I should not think to myself that my sha'b or my qabila is something I should be ashamed of. Be proud of your culture and your language and your family and your history and your heritage, for God decided to create you exactly in the time and place and location and family that you were created into. They're fixed by God. And there's some wisdom in these things. Similarly, be proud of whether you are male or female, and embrace that these things might be different with different roles attached to them, but they are both loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, there are some names of God which naturally fit to the female, and some names of God which naturally fit to the male. And it's easier for each of them to know Allah through those names because of how they've been created. For example, the Asma, the names of God which are known as Jalali, are linked to the male, because the man has a propensity, a tendency towards Jalal, towards the Qadr, towards power, towards decision, and towards those names of God which are in those ways decisive. But then you have all of the Asma of Jamal, of beauty. Of them they are contained in the woman, not the man. The mercy of God is only found in a woman in the womb of a mother. For example, the kindness of Allah is easier to know by a woman than a man. The softness, the gentleness, the forgiving nature. In our books we find a woman has a natural tendency towards these great names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna khalaqnakum dhakran wa untha. Don't run away from these different roles. And each of these names takes us back towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And isn't that the point of the verse? لِتَعَارَفُوا. Isn't that why we've been created in the way we've been created? Okay, read Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now the exact same thing is known for our culture. The same thing, Sha'ub wa Qaba'il. If I've been born in a Pakistani or Punjabi or Indian or Iraqi or Afghan or Khoja family, there is some wisdom by God why I was created in this family. In fact, in 2 nights from now I'll go into this in more detail about why we've been created to the exact parents we've been created to, and how it's part of our fitrah. We'll come to that point later. But we need to embrace these things. Ayatul Mutahari says, if you look at Insan, all different cultures and civilizations, they all latch onto 1 or 2 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only when they come together do you see a full picture of who Allah is. Lita'arufu means I need your culture and your language to help me in my journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the same is vice versa. But the verse then continues. There are some things which are fixed, no doubt. But there are some things which are not fixed. And I'm going to come to those later. Well, I'll mention the verse now. Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. The most close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has taqwa. That's fluid. But I'll come to that. Let me give one more example for why the idea that we have different genders is important and something to embrace, not something to shy away from, that we have fixed genders. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Surah Al-Ali Imran verse 36. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Falamma wada'atha. When she delivered the child. She here is Hannah, the wife of Imran, who will see who the mother whom she is. قالت ربي إني وضعتها أنثى. Ya Allah, my Lord, I have given birth to a girl. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ. And Allah knows whom you have given birth to. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنثَى. And a girl is not like a boy. Here it is in the verse of Quran. وَلَيْسَ ذَكَرُ كَالْأُنثَى. وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمْ. So I will call her Maryam. وَإِنِّي عُيذُكَ بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And I, the mother says, will seek your protection, Allah, to protect all of the dhurriyat of Maryam from shaitan, the cursed. Why is this happening? The mother of Maryam has been told by Imran that there is going to be a child born to you, and he's going to be the Messiah. and he's going to bring peace, and he's going to have miracles associated to him. Who? He. فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا. But when she gave birth to a girl, she was worried. Ya Allah, I have given birth to a woman, a girl, a female. And a girl is not the same as a boy. But Allah knows what you don't know, which means Allah knows not only why she's a girl, Allah knows there's a reason why Maryam was a lady. Why? Because only from a lady like Maryam can a son like Isa be born. All of the prophecy, he's going to raise people from the dead and heal the sick and bring peace and bring the message, all of that prophecy rests not on Isa, on Maryam. She fulfills the prophecy. And it's okay because she's a female, because we embrace her for this very fact. The prophecy of Risalat of Isa is Qabul with Maryam because of her. Now let someone come and say, I don't like how Islam treats us in different genders. It's true actually. In our culture, we can sometimes abuse and misuse and misname and mischaracterize the woman and the right to feel angry with the men, but not with the religion. The religion never did that to them. In the religion, Maryam was given the izzat that every time Isa is mentioned in the Quran, he's Isa ibn Maryam. Wherever you find any goodness of any man in this religion, there's always a woman from whom it came from. Give you an example. They say, why are there so many ulama who are men in this religion? Teaching us about Islam. Ulama, men. Okay, there are many men who are alim. It's true. And they teach. But there is only one person in history who's called alimatan ghayra muallim. A woman who is an alim with no one teaching her. Zainab Kubra alayhi salam. There are many cases of them saying, why in the majalis is it men who are running the majlis? Why? Why is Imam Hussain and Imam Sajjad carrying on this legacy? Why is there men after men after men? Okay, some men read Marsiya and Masaib, but someone else is Ummul Masaib. All of the men who can claim to be Azadar only have this haqq from Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam. Wherever there is goodness in the community, for some reason there's a woman behind the origin of that goodness. I'll give you one more example. The Hadith Qudsi says, Ya Ahmad, Allah speaking, Ya Ahmad, Lawlak ma khalaqtul aflaq. If it wasn't for you, I would not have created all of this universe. Walawla Ali ma khalaqtakum. If it was not for Ali, I would not have created you, Ya Rasulullah. Walawla Fatima ma khalaqtakuma. If it was not for Fatima, I would not have created any of both of you. मैंने कह दिया आप सुन लिया. If you actually think that narration is baffling, Rasulullah, Nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Risalat, Khatam al-Nabiyyin, it makes sense. Imam Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen. But there would be no Risalat, no Wilayat, hatta if not for Fatima alayhi salam. These narrations, the ulama are confused even till now. Why is she been given all of the fadilat of the Anbiya and of the Imams? Imagine, Allah wants to speak to His Prophet and to His Imam. And when He communicates from the heavens to the earth, He does not say, Ya Rasulullah, or Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, or Ya Hassan, or Ya Hussein. He says what? Hum Fatima wa abiha wa ba'liha wa baniha. It's Fatima I'm speaking to, and her father, husband, and her sons. Even though all of those are Imams or Anbiya, but their pehchan only comes from their relation to Fatima. Alright, let me go one step further. All of you read Hadith al-Qisa, which is when that happened. All Hadith al-Qisa. Who's the Rawi? Ya Ali. Who's the Rawi of Hadith al-Qisa? What do we say in the beginning? An Jabir Abdullah al-Ansari and Fatima al-Zahra. We all read the same thing. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari narrates, I heard from Fatima. All of Hadith al-Qisa. Okay. So when we read Hadith al-Qisa, Rasulullah says, I'm feeling cold. I have coldness in my body. Who hears this? Fatima. It makes sense. Okay. When Ali came in the Qisa, who heard this? Fatima. She's the Rawi. But when we read, وَقَالَ جِبْرَائِيل مَنْ تَحْتَ الْكِسَى, and Jibra'il says, who's in the Qisa? How is Fatima in Ardh hearing Jibra'il in Sama? How? Let's go one step further. Then it says, وَقَالَ عَزَّ وَجَلْ هُمْ أَحْلَ بَيْتِ النَّبُوَّةِ وَمَعْدَنَ الرِّسَالَةِ. How is Fatima on this earth hearing the dialogue of Allah and Jibreel? Why? Because she is known as Abiha. Abiha doesn't just mean she's the mother of her father, meaning what? That she takes care of her father. Okay, she loves her father. No. Ayatollah Gul Begani says Abiha means if there is an origin to Risala and to Kitab and Imamat and Wilayat, the name of all of those origin is Fatima. Let any man claim this religion does not like men, does not like women, when the greatest of all insan looks like it might be Fatima. Can I give you one more example on this? The Holy Prophet, when he walks into a room, all the ashab stand for him. When he goes outside, even the kuffar stands for him. When he goes to the battlefield, even the enemy stands for him. The hadith say, when he walks, even the trees raise themselves for him. Wherever he goes, everything stands for him. Yani what? Meaning the one whom enemy, friend, khalq, bashar, all stands for is the name of Rasulullah. But the one who when she enters, Rasulullah stands is known as Fatima. He says every time Fatima walked into a room, Rasulullah himself stood up for her. एक और मिसाल आपको दोनों से आप सब अच्छा से सुन रहे हैं. The hadith says, the Holy Prophet is, who is the Prophet? He is the one who receives wahi from the Quran, directly from heaven. Not just wahi, Allah speaks to him directly from heaven, okay? He fights for the sake of who? Allah from heaven. He used to worship Allah on the arsh in heaven. Yani whatever he does is linked to Jannah. But he says, I can only smell paradise from Zahra. The one of all of those, not Quran, not the battlefields, not the masjid, not the mihrab. The one thing which takes him back to Jannah is Fatima. And why not? It's only after the journey of Mi'raj that she was born. This is the one person who's born after Mi'raj of Jannah. Do you see now? Inna khalaqnakum dhakarin wa untha. You've been made in a precise measure by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be ashamed or angry at your creation. Allah made a woman greater than all the men you're ever going to meet in your life. So don't believe those. It's to the sisters who are listening. Don't believe those who tell you Islam is misogynistic and patriarchal. Some Muslims might be, some practices might be, but the religion was made in the nur of Fatima. How can this religion have anything against women? Okay, like I said before, some things are fixed in this Islam, but some things are fluid. Inna akramakumullah atqakum. The thing which determines you to Allah is your taqwa. Taqwa is up to us, and it is fluid. How? All me and you are in our life, in truth, is two things. Think about this. In addition to being man, woman, culture, tribe, we are two things. We are either our ilm or we are our amal. That's it. Ilm and amal, your knowledge and your actions, both come from the same root composition, ayn, mim and lam. They just switch the letters around. Ilm and amal. All you are raised for, all you answer for is your ilm and your amal. Ayatollah Hassan Zadi Amali, who died recently, who's a great scholar of ours, says, Insan is like a wall. You know, you see a wall? It's composed of different bricks. He says each brick is either your ilm or your amal. And you go to Allah like you see this wall in front of you, composed of either beautiful actions or beautiful ideas and ilm. That's you. This is completely fluid, because me and you